Hello and welcome back to Talking Giants. It is February 3rd, 2026. And get your report cards out. Doing something new because we are going to be grading the top 15 players on the Giants defense today. The next time Shaun and I are together on an episode where at least the Giants won't be hiring an offensive coordinator, that then we will be going over to the offensive side of the ball. Shaun, how are you doing? How was your weekend?
Weekend was good. Had a good time. I went to a New York Islanders game. Had a good weekend. It was nice
Disney on Ice?
Yeah, Disney on Ice, and seeing people out in public talking positively about the New York Giants was kind of crazy. Yeah, horrible, that kind of feel. So that's good. I do want to wish everybody out there celebrating a happy birthday, Justin. Happy 18th birthday specifically to people out there who are eligible to vote today who were born on the day David Tyree caught a football and the Giants won a Super Bowl.
Wow.
I believe I have the years right. 18 years. 18 years since that day is today. February 3rd, 2008. So there are now adults walking this earth that were born the day of Super Bowl 42 today.
That's messed up. I just found out. I don't know what this has to do. I mean, just the passage of time. I just found out at the ripe age of 27 that I have my first cavity.
First one? You get a root canal?
No, they said it. They said it was not. It's not that bad. So I'm going in President's Day when I have off. I'm going to go in President's Day, get that done. But still, just like the passage, like it's my first one. The passage of time, everything like that. Happy anniversary, happy birthday, David Tyree.
There you go. Wouldn't be talking Giants without remembering February 3rd, 2008.
So I want to rip this Band-Aid off really quick, right before I'm excited about this episode. What this episode I think is going to allow us to do is just talk about players. This is really the last time that we're going to talk about like players like pseudo in depth that are kind of like on the team right now, probably until training camp, the summer, when we do some of these more theme type of episodes, because obviously as February goes on, it's going to be free agency based. We'll talk about, the free agents that are coming up for the Giants too. Giants that bring on free agents in March. And then obviously the draft is going to be all of April. But I want to rip this Band-Aid off really quick because I forget what day it was, but we get the whole Steve Tisch is linked to the Epstein list and just listed in the emails.
Friday evening
this was. So, Shaun, I always say this whenever social issues somehow intertwine with Talking Giants and what I do. You are never going to get good insight out of me when it comes to these types of things and these social issues. But I think it's just worth noting Steve Tisch somehow linked there needs to be an investigation that's going to happen. The NFL is going to wait for all the facts to come out. If he's somehow linked to the bad things that happened, then that's horrible. Right. Even if it's some weird stuff, we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah. Look, all I can say is at a bare minimum, we know after reports, and dare I say, at the time, I cannot tell you whether they were rumors, but there was enough known about Jeffrey Epstein at the time that some of these emails that we have now seen dated have been exchanged, that conversing about Jeffrey Epstein about any females, adult or not at that point, is a really bad idea. So at a bare minimum, we know Jeffrey Epstein is, Steve Tisch is, I guess, guilty of that in some way, shape, or form. And look, there's no way to condone that or say that was a good idea at any way or any point by Steve Tisch. So, look, on Talking Giants, you're going to get the football out of us. But obviously, Justin and I think I can speak for Justin here, aren't condoning anything that you read in those emails whatsoever. No. But, Roger Goodell now has spoken on Super Bowl week and he's claimed facts. My guess is something does happen. Inevitably, it's something that we probably won't even really notice because it's not like Steve Tisch is around the Giants all that much. Obviously, he kind of resurfaced with using his airplane to go pick up John Harbaugh. But in the end, as far as the football goes with the New York Giants, whatever the NFL chooses to do with Steve Tisch, it's going to have little to no impact on the football, which is, let's be honest, that's what we're going to care about here on the Giants side. And, listen, if Steve Tisch isn't a part of this, I don't think anybody's going to be crying in their soup after reading those emails.
No, and I hope everything. I hope people are held accountable that need to be held accountable, and it's not just because somebody in power that has money, that has influence, that has standing, that this is kind of just thrown under the rug. Hey, emails are out there, and it's already weird. At the baseline, it's just weird. and it's just not kind of right. But anything outside of that, that's not for me to decide. And I hope that whoever needs to be held accountable is held accountable. That's it.
Correct. Yeah, and look, we'll see where this goes, but I would just remind everybody this. It's not as if everybody, including the DOJ, got these emails for the first time on Friday and we all read them together as a society. Yeah. These have sat there for a long time, and the powers that be that determine, who gets arrested for what has had their hands on these emails. So, I say that to say do with that information what you want.
All right. Done.
How about that Todd Monken, huh? All right.
How about that Todd Monken? Yeah, that's really so. It transitioned to still looking for an offensive coordinator, and we'll spend a couple minutes on this because I do think they are pretty close to hiring one, and when they do, we'll break it all down. Dan Duggan tweeted this out Monday. My understanding is the Giants' plan is to conduct virtual OC interviews at least through today, that being Monday, the day that we're recording this. Then the expectation is that they'll bring in finalists for in-person interviews in the middle of the week. And Shaun, I had this thought. Like I finally tweeted out Monday evening. I'm like, who do we even think and who do we even want as the Giants offensive coordinator? I've because there's so little juice, at least with DC. Like there were three clear front runners. There was juice around Jim Leonard. I had a little bit of juice surrounding Gerard Wilson, and other people had juice surrounding like Anthony Weaver. Like we were going to be kind of excited and talk ourselves into any of those three and really view those three candidates all as pretty legit. For offensive coordinator, I feel like it's all over the place, and for such an important spot on John Harbaugh's staff, I feel like there's little juice that's surrounding that spot and that conversation right now.
Yeah, so I also think a lot of why we felt that way about defense, Justin, I think was twofold, because at that time we all just operated in the assumption Todd Monken was coming offensively, so it felt like the only big hire John Harbaugh had made. So we really, really were delving deep into it. And I also just think the idea that the defense is really what let the New York Giants down in the regular season for 2025 with all the talent we were perceived to have, and I know we're going to get into some of those guys in a little bit. But, we were really in on, what these guys do, how they'll use the talent, all this. Maybe part of it is all of us on our heels being blindsided that Todd Monken is not going to be the OC, but also, this is kind of a deep search. And we talked about this last week on the podcast, the deep, time that Harbaugh will take to go over this. And I know I'm in a weird spot. I don't want to speak for you, where I read these names and I could find myself sold on all of them. And again, we keep repeating this. I'm kind of flying with my blinders on. I totally see where I would like a certain guy and where I would like this kind of certain guy. But I don't think I'm going to end up viewing whoever gets hired as a disappointment, because don't you kind of got to trust the guy that's been doing this forever and John Harbaugh to target that?
Yes, 100%. And again, has an 18-year track record of hiring good people in both of these spots at OC and DC. So
I'll say this. If Cliff Kingsbury ends up being the guy, because that seems to be a guy that we're all kind of circling the waters on, that feels like the one proven play caller in the NFL, and I think that's why people are leaning that way. I hope it's because he really is the best candidate and Harbaugh sees him as a fit with Dart, as opposed to, well, you know what? By default, he's a guy who's called plays and I don't want to worry about that in year one. I just you know what I mean? I'm not as worried that Alex Tanney has never called plays if you think he's the right fit for Jackson Dart.
Yeah, 100%. And here are the known remaining candidates during this offensive coordinator search. You have Alex Tanney, who right now is the offensive passing game coordinator for the Indianapolis Colts. You have Jim Bob Cooter, who is currently the offense coordinator for the Colts as well, but not the primary play caller over there. You have Charlie Weiss Jr., currently the OC at LSU. You have Shane Day, who's the quarterback coach for the Chargers, which simply just because it always feels like there's such a sister swap, wife swap between the Harbaugh brothers, between Michigan and the Chargers. It always just, like, that name just sticks out. Just because of the Harbaugh connection and the brother Harbaugh connection. Currently the quarterback coach for the Chargers, Shane Day is. Cliff Kingsbury, and then Brian Callahan. And those two, the bottom two, Kingsbury and Callahan, are the only two candidates on this list that have previous NFL play calling experience. I would, if that is the route that Harbaugh likes to take guys that have former play calling experience, if that's the route that he wants to take, especially on the offensive side, I think he's deviated that from on the defensive side recently. But if that's the side, if that's kind of like the thing that he wants to plant his flag in the sand for, I know that's not the phrase.
No, it's not.
I prefer Cliff Kingsbury over Callahan because Callahan didn't even call plays in Cincinnati, went and called plays for Tennessee, and it was a failure in every
Correct.
single way, especially 2024 where they could not stop turning the ball over. I understand Will Levis.
Yeah.
That was just a very, very bad situation. I would lean Cliff Kingsbury there.
I would too, but I would also say I think a lot of Brian Callahan's failures as a play caller is that he was so sinking in quicksand, we use another sand reference, as the head coach that I just don't think his focus was fully there and didn't try. I just think that whole thing was a mess. I think as a breath as a offensive coordinator like he was with Cincy, but then calling the plays, I feel like he'd be more successful. But you're right. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury at least has proven both as a head coach and as an OC that he's perfectly capable. It's just a matter of what's the lifespan on that.
Yeah, it also would be very opposite. I view Callahan as very like a pass first, spread it out type of guy, whereas Harbaugh, at least with his last couple offensive coordinators, like we're talking about under Todd Monken how the Ravens started to spread it out more, yet they still didn't run 11 personnel nearly as much as the average team did, let alone above average. So that doesn't necessarily feel like that's a match identity wise between those two. But Kingsbury between his run game designs and things like that. That does feel like it could be a possible match. So
I'm with you.
We'll see. And I guess according to Duggan, they'll bring in finalists for in-person interviews in the middle of the week. So maybe by the time we do a second Talking Giants episode this week, we will have an offense coordinator. And
it should be noted, if the other name we didn't mention, Davis Webb, appears back to Denver as their OC.
Yes. That's why we took him off. He's probably getting a nice pay bump. I wonder if he's going to be. Well, no, Vance Joseph is the assistant. I wonder who's the assistant coach over there, the Broncos, because I wonder if it's going to have to be a pay bump is going to be given, and then is Sean Payton going to give up play calling? I would lean no.
No, you think Sean Payton's doing that? He's already fighting with Bo Nix over revealing injuries. I don't think he's giving a play call.
Yeah. All right, Davis, what about Bummer? I was kind of rooting for that.
That's okay.
All right, they also added, Giants did, assistant offensive line coach Grant Newsome from Michigan, who worked under Jim Harbaugh as their offensive line coach.
The sister swap stuff, like you said, unbelievable.
Yeah, the sister swap, the wife swap stuff. Chad Hall remains on the Giants staff after being the assistant coach last year. He was added to the staff last year amidst the Matthew Stafford rumors. Hall is Stafford's brother-in-law. Chad Hall is going to be the team's wide receiver coach, and he previously interviewed for the Ravens OC job in 2023. So very convenient. Thanks, Brian Dable, for adding him to the staff. That was one less guy that Harbaugh had to go out and get.
Did you laugh when you saw that name? Because I had forgotten about the whole Stafford connection where we all thought that this guy got added and that was why Stafford was coming here. I had totally forgotten about that aspect of the Stafford story.
I forgot about that aspect of the Stafford story, but I think about that what if. You love what ifs.
Oh, like I do.
The rabbit hole that you go down under. I think about what if Stafford all the time. All the time.
Yeah. I'm okay with it in hindsight.
I'm okay with it too, but
John Harbaugh, Jackson Dart.
It would have been sick. It would have been
fun. Or his back injury would have acted up and he would have been out by early October. His career would have been over.
Yeah.
That's another what if.
Naturally. Willie Taggart's the running back coach. Tim Kelly, I think, is the tight end coach. And I think that's the offensive staff that they have right now in terms of like the main position coaches.
Yeah.
Obviously, Grant Newsome is the assistant O-line coach. Giants still looking for an O-line coach. A lot of the staff being filled out before they have the offense coordinator, which I'm not taking anything away from that, but I just think it's an interesting thing to know.
Yeah. I mean, I guess in theory, if you really wanted to be douches, if an OC got hired and it was like, by the way, I know you hired this Willie Taggart to be your running back, you got to reassign him to another spot in the staff because I need to bring this guy to be that. I think these guys would still have jobs, but they could get reassigned their positional coaches with the right hire.
They're filling out the defensive staff too, but I want to save that. Maybe once the full coaching staff is filled out, maybe we'll just do like a full bio deep dive and if there's anything that we can find and things like that too. But
we'll play the game. Who's the first to be fired?
Oh, geez. Let's not. Nobody's going to get fired from this staff. Everybody is going to leave and get promotions. That's what's going to happen. Nothing ever is going to go wrong. It's February. All right, Shaun, before we get to giving out our report cards for the 2025 Giants defensive players, I do want to talk to you about SeatGeek because this episode is brought to you by SeatGeek. The MLB offseason is nearly over, which means that spring training and the World Baseball Classic are right around the corner, not to mention the NBA, the NHL. Even the World Cup is coming up this summer. Shaun, You just went to a hockey game this weekend.
I did. SeatGeek was pumping out those tickets to Islander fans.
JohnBoy10. You use code JohnBoy10. You can get some already nice and cheap hockey tickets because SeatGeek has the best prices out there too. Then on top of that, you can get 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code JohnBoy10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app, and you can have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. I'm going to the Charlie Puth concert at MSG at the end of May. So you can come join me for that because I know everybody and their mother listens to this, loves Charlie Puth. Not a very specific artist. I just love him. Everybody loves him.
It would help if you got his name right. I mean,
Charlie Puth.
Pluth.
No, it's not. No, you're thinking of Trevor Plouffe.
No, Charlie Pluth, I thought.
Your coworker, Trevor Plouffe. You ever think about that?
I do think about that often.
You think about how Trevor Plouffe is your coworker?
Coworker. He wouldn't know me if I fell on him.
Thank you, Siki. All right. So, how I wanted to do this, Shaun. There were 15 players for the New York Football Giants in 2025 that received over 300 defensive snaps. Darius Alexander was the 15th one, 394. Bobby Okereke was number one with 1,104 defensive snaps. Sorry to DJ Davidson, you just fell short at 256 snaps. That's your mention.
Okay, perfect. I'm just going to tell you, Justin, you sent us a rundown. I have briefly glazed this, and I caught like the corner of one of your grades. I don't want to look at your grades because I don't want to feel influenced on mine. I did. So I'm turning off this stupid sheet. It's not a stupid sheet, a great in-depth sheet right now.
Great sheet.
I have my facts and everything in front of me. I don't want to be influenced by your grades.
Okay. So Darius Alexander finishes his rookie year with 3.5 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, 6 quarterback hits, had 20 combined tackles, 9 of them solo. All 4 of his sacks, Shaun, came in true pass sets. What does that mean? What does that mean? It doesn't mean that it's not a coverage sack, right? It's not, he's untouched and somebody had a missed assignment. All 4 of them were legit wins, legit sacks. I am overall disappointed by Darius Alexander's rookie season, but it is very hard for rookie defensive linemen that aren't like these kick-ass guys that maybe you take in the top end of the first round. It's very hard for these defensive linemen to kind of come in and immediately have an impact. It typically takes these guys 2 to 3 years. So I would say because he's a rookie and because of the position that he's playing, Shaun, I am going to give him a grade, but probably out of most of these guys here, this is the guy that I would want to give an incomplete to because he didn't play that much and because he's a rookie and the position, like I said.
I'm in lockstep on a lot of that mindset. Here's the way I view Darius Alexander before giving you my total grade. He's probably, if I had to project, and I don't know, and I have the right to change my opinion, when we hit those training camp shows at the end of July and we start talking about the guys ready to take the next step, I bet you he's one of like 5 players. If I had to pick like my 5 players I think are ready to kind of have big years. I kind of expecting a lot out of him in 2026 while being, like you said, overall, when you consider the fact that he was a 3rd-round pick, when you consider the fact that he was an older 3rd-round pick at 26 years old.
He's turning 26 in August.
Yeah, when you consider like the teeth of the defense is the D tackle spot where I still feel like that's a need this offseason, and they got their ass kicked on the run. When I combine all of that, considering the asset that was put in, it has to be not a great grade. I don't want to reveal the actual grade, but yet a player I'm still very excited about next year for.
Yeah, they kind of turned him into a little bit as a situational pass rusher because, again, 394 total snaps, 258 of them were as a pass rusher, and then 135 of them was as a run defender.
Correct.
And you got to
think, we knew his strength coming out was going to be pass rush. We understand that, but still, they needed help stopping the run inside.
But I do want him to take this would need to be a big step up as a run defender because I do not think that ability to stop the run was there for him. He had 4 tackles for loss, but I can't tell you a play that sticks out of my head that's like, oh, Darius Alexander really did a nice job stacking and shedding here and getting into the backfield. Overall, when he's playing at his best, Shaun, it's because he's using those 34-inch arms, which is 77th percentile among interior defensive linemen. You have to use them. You have to attack the upper bodies of these guards, especially when a lot of these guards and interior linemen have shorter arms themselves. When he won at Toledo, it was with power and using those hands and using that arm length. His rookie year, I rewatched all of his pressures from this year. When he got off the ball well, which that's also part of it with him too. He's got to get off the ball. There were times where he looked very, very slow. Training camp, he looked very, very slow. When he got off the ball well, he got extension, punch, use those hands, use violence. He found some success. There were times where he would just kind of use an extension and just a bull rush. There were other times and pressures and sacks that he had where he would turn a bull rush into a rip. And it was like, okay, nice. And he got a little skinny and you were able to dip your shoulder a little bit. I don't think he's ever going to be a finesse player. But because he has those arms, because he has those 34-inch arms, because that's how he won at Toledo. That's how he won down at the Senior Bowl. In the brief glimpses that we got his rookie year, that's how he won his rookie year too. That needs to be expanded upon. You have a year now where you understand the areas that you need to get better, the areas where you need to get stronger at, physically, and then also, I guess, mentally, too, from just a football standpoint. You got to be like a violent player. That's the player that Darius Alexander needs to be. And I have questions on what that ceiling fully looks like for him. The fact that he is turning 26 in the month of August.
But I would say anything that comes with, a Harbaugh into Denard Wilson kind of, pedigree here with the Ravens tells you they invest a lot of time in defensive tackles and trying to, get the most out of it. It's like one of those positions too. You kind of spin the reel in the old Ravens kind of deal and go, you know what? I kind of trust the system here that if this guy is as coachable as you think he is with the weight room, all that stuff that goes into it, I think he will get there to at least some extent. Doesn't mean he's going to turn into some kind of Pro Bowler here, but a valuable asset to a defense. I think that's still very much in front of Darius Alexander in 2020.
Yeah, I think him and Travis Jones were taken around the same time in the draft.
It's a good call.
Around the same pick. Two very different players. One, we're talking about Travis Jones being a run stopper. Darius Alexander, we're leaning towards being a little bit more of a pass rush specialist, but also I don't mind that. I don't mind that, especially like, hey, I want to have the mentality this offseason on the defense of how can we add run stoppers in here.
Correct.
Whether that be at interior linebacker, also interior D-line, but getting a guy that can be a pass rush, kind of not, you don't want to make him just a flat-out specialist, but a guy that you could put in there on third down and feel confident that maybe he can get after a little bit. I would be cool if Darius Alexander does serve that role. Some other stats that I have for you. He was 51st out of 83 interior defensive linemen in win rate in true pass sets. A little below average. All four of his sacks, again, came in true pass sets. Like I said, that was tied for 18th in the league. So, significant. Usually, sometimes you see a lot of those sacks. Sometimes those sacks from defensive linemen are coming from when QBs are scrambling or untouched, things like that.
They all came in the second half of the year, right?
Yes. Now, the two games that he dominated, Shaun, the two games that Darius Alexander really stood out, I'll say. The Lions
game, I was going to say. Okay.
And the Raiders. Those are like the two games in my brain that really stick out. He kind of feasted off of bad offensive linemen at times. And if that's obviously you want a third round pick. You want a third round pick to be a little bit better than just a guy that feasts off of bad linemen. But even if that's what he is kind of early on, sign me up. Go out there and kick ass. If there's not this guard, if there's this guard that they're putting a backup guard, a day 3, day 2 guy rookie that's starting for them and doesn't have it all together, and Darius Alexander can go and have a good game, I'll even take that, especially while everybody's doubling a triple teaming Dexter Lawrence, right?
And that situation happens to a ton of teams too.
Yeah,
where you're playing these backup guards, of course.
Yeah, so I'll take whatever I could get out of Darius Alexander because there were certain points this year where I was really, really worried about where are you, what are you doing, and like are you here? Like especially during training camp, I'm like, are you even here with us mentally? Like I know you're there, but are you here mentally? Shaun, I gave him a C for his rookie.
Mine was an exact C, hard C.
Yeah,
hard C.
We are doing plus and minuses. I feel like it's too harsh to go C minus.
Well, see, it's funny. I was going to go C. It's funny. I was going to go C minus, but I bumped him up to a C because I'm kind of grading it also on the curve of third round pick. And I saw enough in the second half that I have higher hopes for him in 2026. I'm not going to mark him down for that. It kind of gets raised.
I wish he would have earned more playing time over Nacho, over Roy Robertson-Harris. I wish he would have earned more playing time as the year went on, because those guys are kind of jags, in my opinion.
But a normal situation on a bad football team that's not sitting there with an interim coach for the lives, you may get that. Like if Harbaugh was in his first year with the Giants and they had 6 wins and they were out of it in December, you're giving a ton of those reps to Alexander because he means a lot to your team next year. That the coaching staff was not in that position.
Do you know what a jag is?
Just another guy.
Just a guy. That's right. All right. Don't want to spend too much time on this guy. Darius Muasau played 20 more snaps on defense than his rookie year in 2025. He had a sack in 2025, 51 combined tackles, 24 of them were solo, 2 tackles for loss, 1 quarterback hit. The main thing that I kind of want to put it in on somebody's radar for training camp, like a beat reporter, his special teams snaps dropped dramatically. He went from playing 63% of the special team snaps in games that he was eligible for in his rookie year. That went down to 29%. Yeah. So
makes sense though, doesn't it?
No.
Well, no, think about it this way. Micah McFadden gets hurt in week 1, and then Muasau has to step in, and their interior linebacker situation was so thin.
Yeah,
thin. And then he gets hurt. He gets hurt and misses multiple games. So then when he works back in, it's all about just developing him back at that linebacker position again. So I kind of feel like everything they had planned for him on special teams was completely derailed as early as week 1.
Yeah, maybe. But, they drafted this guy day 3, 2024 draft, the last pick of the 2024 class, I believe. And this was supposed to be like a special teams ace, like he was a captain at UCLA, and it was like that. That's what this guy was billed as, and I'm fine with that. If you're day 3 pick, 6th round, you want to draft a special teams ace, yeah. But then I kind of have this expectation too of if you're going to draft a special teams ace, he better be a damn good special teamer. What was that running back a couple years ago? That was from the University of Arizona that Joe Judge took.
Oh, who the hell was it?
He was never good at special teams. Everybody was like, he's good at special teams.
Oh, God. Why am I forgetting his name? Oh, that's going to bother
me. I'm remembering Antonio Williams from the Buffalo Bills.
Who, by the way, you know what he does now?
Antonio Williams?
Yes. My father ran into him, and then I ran into him. He sells water at Costco.
Really?
Yes. Saw my dad's giant. He goes, yeah, I played with them, camped with them. I'm Antonio Williams, and he's like Costco water salesman now.
The show has interviewed him before.
Really? Nice guy.
Yes. Very good. He was the first signing of the Brian Dable, Joe Judge era.
Of course, I searched Giants running back drafted out of Arizona, and all you get is Cam Scadaboo, Arizona State. Come on.
That makes sense.
Oh, come on. What is this name? It's going to bother me. And people are yelling right now listening to this. Oh, no. Gary Brightwell.
Stops. Gary Brightwell.
Gary Brightwell.
Good job.
That was fun.
And he wasn't a special team specialist. He wasn't a specialist.
No, he couldn't even return kicks.
Yeah, but for Muasau, I don't think he provides much. He was 93rd out of 100 out of all linebackers in run stop rate. I don't think he brings much. And Ryan Dunleavy before the season, I did like a cartoon double take when I heard him say this. Came on during camp, and he was like, "Yeah, they really like him. They think that he could play linebacker."
Dude, I'm just going to tell you right now. This is why my grade. This is the one F I'm giving out. I think I'm giving him an F because Dunleavy's right. When we were at camp before the year, all people kept murmuring, "Wait till you see this Muasau linebacker." And I kept looking.
You had people telling you that too?
Same thing. And then we are at, I'll never forget this, the Giants did like a fan fest kind of deal at the American Dream the Friday before week 1.
Yep.
And different players were on stage. We did a show there, the Evan and Tiki show, and we had Tyrone Tracy on. And I forget, honestly, if it was off air or on air, and they were just kind of talking about the roster for the season. It might have even been on air, and you can find this somewhere. He mentions, dude, Neighbors and, Russ is he's going through the big players, Burns, and he gets the 6th guy he mentions, and he goes, Muasau. And I stopped dead cold, and it didn't catch Evan Atiba. I'm like, Muasau. And then I think that's when I asked him off there. He's like, "No, dude, he is buzzing at linebacker. He's going to be like a steal." And I was like, wow. So now I'm hearing a teammate say this.
Yeah.
And then I thought I was wrong. I'm like, am I missing something with Darius Muasau? And then when Micah McFadden got hurt, I was there watching week 1. I remember I turned to my sister. And I was like, I got to be honest with you. They're so high on Muasau. I almost wonder how big a loss this is.
Yeah.
I remember saying that.
Well, it was a big loss. I gave him a C-. I'm not giving him as low as you because he was a day 3 2024 draft pick from UCLA that was expected to be a special teamer. It's not his fault. It's their fault for thrusting him into a situation that he's not ready for and probably won't be able to do in the NFL. There's nothing wrong with being a number 4 interior linebacker, which I think he is and he can be. Put him on special teams again.
I don't know, man. If a movie director comes up and says, you got to see this movie, I'm telling you it's going to be as good as Forrest Gump, and then the movie is watchable and fun, it's getting an F for me because you hyped it up like Forrest Gump. Yeah. So I'm grading on a curve.
Well, it's also part of their problem with self-evaluation, which they had a huge, the interior linebacker spot, probably their biggest swing and miss at self-evaluation, because they knew that they had problems with Bobby Okereke. Like, there were whispers, and we'll save some of those thoughts there. There were whispers about Bobby Okereke's future during OTAs in the spring. They apparently love Muasau, and they think the world of him. But yet you get into the year and you have a historically bad run defense that can't defend anything outside the tackles, which I think that really rests on, especially your outside linebacker, your interior linebackers making plays and being able to go sideline to sideline, which they cannot. So I gave him a C-. You gave him an F.
Mm-hmm. Okay. An F.
Deonte Banks, without a doubt, Shaun, his worst season as a pro yet. And
did I just get done saying Muasau's my only F? Let's talk.
Yeah, this is you know what? Believe it or not, I'm not giving him an F. Has allowed 4 or more touchdowns every single year of his career. He only had 1 pass breakup this year, which is different than passes defensed, by the way. But only 1 pass breakup according to PFF. 149.7 passer rating allowed when targeted. That was the 2nd highest in the NFL out of all cornerbacks. 4th highest completion percentage allowed in the league among cornerbacks. He did find a place as a kick returner, Shaun. Correct. And didn't he get an all-pro vote as a kick returner?
I believe he did, but we are judging this as a defensive player here on this report card, are we not?
You know what? I mean, should we fantasy football this and say defense/special teams?
I guess we can. But then, am I giving Muasau an F? I mean, his special team snaps, I'd have to go really look at him. But I don't know.
Okay, but did they make a play on special teams that's noteworthy? Yes
no,
or no?
Okay, yeah, Banks did.
That's my mindset when it comes to this player good on special teams? Like, Cam Brown was like a legitimately good special teamer. Carter Coughlin, legitimately good special teamer.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, then this is what I say about Banks, and this is where my knock is going to come. It's okay to stink in the NFL and be a draft bust. Like, it happens. Deonte Banks is not the first, nor he's the last. What cannot happen as this is going on is also exhibit a lack of effort. And that is my biggest issue with Deonte Banks. How many times did we have, and I know you clipped them up a ton, some kind of touchdown? How about that Brian Robinson run versus the 49ers? Were you just eyes on Deonte Banks, and you're like, dude, are you like trying to play the game at all? You know, look, you get beat. You're just not a good corner, ball skills. Again, I live with that, even if that means you're a bust of a first-round pick. But his lack of effort is what derails the entire thing for me, Justin.
Yeah.
He don't love football. There's no doubt about that.
No, and like, I felt like Harbaugh, at least in my Giants fan brain, was talking about 2 specific people when talking about, if you don't love football, you're not going to love it here. And hey, Joe, we're going to get these guys out that don't love football. There's 2 guys that I think he was talking about. Both of them coming from that 2023 draft class. And Deonte Banks is leading the charge of it. At least Hyatt has a case where I think maybe he tries. Well, also Hyatt doesn't get much of a chance to play. Correct. Banks gets a long runway to play because he's a former first-round pick. And again, lack of self-evaluation of the Giants' cornerback position. Oh, we think Deonte Banks can just do it. He'll go out there and do it. And lo and behold, he is not even good depth. I mean, bench for Corey Black at certain points this year. So I gave him a D-. And because he got 1 vote as an all-pro kick returner, I gave him a D-.
So I guess I will stick with D- too, because yes, I do have to admit he is a good kick returner. Now the problem is when he's not the one getting the ball and he's the second man in returns, he's not exactly a great blocker. But that's neither here nor there. Okay, I'll go D- too. And honestly, I think spending any more time dissecting Deonte Banks is probably worthless because everybody hates him.
I mean, Joe Shane's still talking about how, like,
you heard him.
What is he going to say? Like, oh, this guy's a piece of crap and I hate him. still talking about how he has potential and maybe a future here. Do you think that he has a future here? And will he be on the team?
So this is my conundrum. Joe Shane spoke highly of him. We had him on our show on WFAN, and he brought up the kick return stuff and all of that. But I don't know how John Harbaugh gets in a room, watches tape of any of this effort. If his dad's like this big a tape guy and looks at Deonte Banks and goes, dude, I can't fix this guy. This guy doesn't love football. Now, maybe that just means he gets a chance because he's under this rookie deal to come to camp and impress this coaching staff. But maybe he's just one of those guys that either it clicks and he rebuys in and he's motivated and Harbaugh thinks he works on him, or we're sitting there on Labor Day weekend and there's the name across the ticker, Deonte Banks has been cut.
I'm never hoping for anybody to lose their job, but I think it would be a really good statement for this locker room and this team that we mean business if he's not here.
I agree.
I think it'll just be kind of like a turning of a new page. Again, like the disease that exists here, like I'm not going to tolerate, even if, coach, I'm all bought in, man. I'm all bought. Dude. I'm going to try hard for you. No, man. Like
he's a tumor in that disease.
Not an Amani tumor.
Yeah. Well dressed.
Yeah. So I would hope that Deonte Banks is not on the roster. Hope he has success elsewhere. All right. Kayvon Thibodeaux. Believe it or not, is the next guy. Kayvon Thibodeaux gets more snaps in 10 games than Deonte Banks does all year. But Deonte Banks appeared in like 16, which is crazy.
This is such
Kayvon Thibodeaux.
Such a tough one.
So he played in 10 games, 2.5 sacks, 25 combined tackles, 13 of them coming solo, 9 quarterback hits, 5 tackles for loss. Kayvon Thibodeaux now has 8 sacks in his last 22 games. That's how many games that he's played over the last 2 seasons, 2 years in a row, struggling with injuries. Shaun, I feel like Kayvon Thibodeaux has played some of the best football over the last 2 years, but specifically in the early part of 2025, I thought he was playing the best football of his career.
Yeah, and he makes what should have been a game-changing play in Philadelphia that they got the call totally wrong on. We forget that when he grabbed the tush-push ball. Remember that?
Yeah.
This is what's so frustrating. And anybody who's followed me long enough, I'm a Kayvon kind of homer and defender. I feel like he kind of takes too much abuse, and I get that he was a 5th overall pick, but it's just hard, and it's not his fault. It's hard to grade a guy up that you were very high on going into this year, only playing 10 games. Yeah. Like, again, you follow one injury-riddled year with another while the production was there, and then you kind of just look at the final numbers. It leaves a lot to be desired. So this is a very conflicting one for me.
He was 7th in the league among edge rushers this year in run stop rate, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Where we're talking about in years past where it's a flat-out liability.
Yeah. No. He got better in the run stop. Right.
37th in total run stops despite only playing 10 games. I felt like there were times where this year from week 1, especially that first month, it felt like Kayvon knew that he was playing for a job and playing for a contract. And then we saw a different Kayvon Thibodeaux. It almost like the drafting of Abdul Carter woke him up. And I don't have any sources that it's just a simple observation of knowing who Kayvon Thibodeaux is as a player. No, I think Kayvon Thibodeaux loves being a football player more than he loves football. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing fully wrong with that. There's some dudes that like I kind of want my edge rusher. I think Abdul Carter is this nuts and psycho. And I kind of would want Thibodeaux to be a little bit more nuts, where it's just like I love football and I'm obsessed with it. I think Thibodeaux loves the benefits of being a football player. And I also think he's very business savvy. And now the fact that he's looking for another contract, he is not necessarily the full-time starter with the New York Giants because you have Brian Burns and Abdul Carter that have, at this point, more investment around them than you do. They're more of the hot commodities around, and you're that third guy in that third fiddle. You saw over the first month, Kayvon Thibodeaux have 2.5 sacks, first 4 games of the season, 2.5 sacks, 8 quarterback hits, which is a really, really, really good start. But then the next 6 weeks, Shaun, 1 QB hit and 0 sacks, and then out for the year.
Yeah. It fell off a cliff. So I still don't understand what the offseason awaits for Kayvon. I know we're going to do that here. Like, is he a piece of the puzzle? Is that something they're going to look to move to accumulate more talent? I get the feeling he's really tight with the Mara ownership group as well. Like, if you notice when John walked the field when he was ill early in the year, like that was the one player he kept going up to and giving like the hug to. We kept seeing that on camera. I'm not sure what's next, but I'll just tell you the way I look back on this. I'm going to give it a flatline C. And this had a potential to be a B plus player this year, the way he started. But again, you fall off the cliff and then you're out for the year. I don't know how I could possibly muster giving him anything other than that. And it's only a C because it did look so promising with Burns and Abdul Carter to start the year.
I gave him a B. Like, do you, when you grade somebody, like, do you really, like, do you give him
I count the
bump?
injuries.
Okay, yeah. Do you, like, how much of a lower bump do you give him injury-wise? And the injuries are ultimately part of it. The injuries are why I would be okay with possibly even, like, I'm talking about like a draft day trade where you're looking at the board and it's either round one, and let's just say the Giants want to go after an Alvaro Reese or a Ruben Bain, or let's just say they go somewhere different in night one of the draft. And then we're looking at day two, and we're looking at all these good edge rushers. This draft class last 2 years just filled with really, really good edge rushers. And I haven't looked at all of them, but was just down at the Senior Bowl, saw a bunch of good interior D linemen, and saw a bunch of good edge rushers that just dominated for a whole week and that were really, really fun. And I certainly wouldn't mind if you can net a third-round pick, or possibly a team that you think could be a fourth-round pick, and that may be too low. But if you can get a third-round pick for Kayvon Thibodeaux on a draft day trade, whether that be next year's third or currently this year, and maybe make up some sort of package to either maybe move up in the draft, I think Kayvon could be a chess piece, and then that could open the door for you to responsibly take an edge rusher also on their rookie deal. And then also, like, you may roll your eyes at me, the Giants are giving some sort of significant they have a significant investment in Chauncey Golston. And Chauncey Golston, when he was healthy, is a solid, good run defender for you that Kayvon Thibodeaux also showed that he can be this year. So, there's options that the Giants have, and I do think Kayvon Thibodeaux is expendable.
I'm not saying no to anything, but I would still lean into $100 million worth in 2027. I think Kayvon's the kind of guy that you try to find a way to sign while you have Jackson Dart on the rookie deal, and we lean back on our old. What?
I would be fine with that too.
Yeah. And I would just lean.
I think it's a good problem right now that they have.
Yeah, and I want to lean into the fact that it was a strength that we never really got to see materialize. I'd like to see it under Noah Wilson, but I can't say no to anything. I can't, because you back up one injured year with another. I'm grading you down on that. It's like going attendance in college. You can't have an attendance problem.
I mean, especially with the Giants having 2 top 100 picks, if Kayvon Thibodeaux can net them a third, and you're talking about a guy that, okay, you got 4 good years out of Kayvon Thibodeaux, right. 4 years of a rookie contract. Yeah, definitely not what you want out of a top 10 pick. But if he can net you another player that the Giants could have for cheap for 4 years, at a position that maybe they need, and a position that's rich in the draft at a top 100 pick, I would be very, very okay with that. But if they don't want to move on, I'm also very okay with having a good problem that is this edge room that is super deep.
We should put a pin in this because I feel like there's more room to breathe on Kayvon Thibodeaux in his future in a future podcast with us.
Yes. Roy Robertson-Harris is next. But first, I do want to talk about DraftKings. Super Bowl 60, that's coming up. Super Bowl 60 deserves a sportsbook built for the moment. And DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 60, puts you right in the center of the biggest game of the year. And when anything can happen during the Super Bowl, DraftKings has your back with early exit. If a player goes down in the first half, you can still get paid out in cash immediately once your bet settles. No bonus bets, no waiting. Here's the best part. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code JAMFootball. That's code JAMFootball to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. A partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours. All right. So I gave Kayvon a B. You gave him a C.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Roy Robertson-Harris, we can be quick with this. This is another jag, in my opinion. This is just a guy. He had 0 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 627 total snaps. 316 of them were on the run defense. Shaun, I gave him a C. He's under contract with the Giants in 2026. He has a $5.75 million cap hit. They'll save $3.35 million if they cut him. They'll have $2.4 million in dead cap if they keep him. I mean, because they're so dire at defensive line and defensive tackle, if they choose to keep him, Nacho is not coming back. Nacho's contract is up. I do think Roy Robertson-Harris is a better run defender than Nacho. So if I had to prioritize either one of them, I would choose Roy Robertson-Harris. But also, if you don't want to justify paying him almost $6 million for 1 year and you just want to get rid of him, I'm totally fine with that too. So,
yeah, I had him at a C-. I'm giving him a C, though, because I did have to remember he was the protector of Cam Scadaboo at WWE when he stood up there and got pushed with his bum leg, and it was Roy Robertson-Harris behind it. But in all seriousness, I think I have a good line here, Justin. Close your eyes and think about Giants football the last 10 years. Has there been anybody who has simultaneously been better than you expected to the eyes and yet on the statistical paper did really nothing at all more than Roy Robertson-Harris did as a Giant this year?
I don't even think about what I said. I don't even think he's that, like, he's not the kick-ass
I had very low expectations where I was like, we're giving this guy guaranteed money. And then I remember, I feel like every game I watched, I was like, all right, that was a nice little play there by Roy Robertson-Harris. And then you look at the stat sheet at the end of the year and you're like, well, he kind of did nothing all year. But yet I feel like I noticed him enough that he was better than I thought he was going to be. It's the most, like, weird player I've ever felt about.
Yeah, I honestly liked Jeremiah Ledbetter, who was the interior defense lineman from Jacksonville and Seattle. I liked his tape and film better than Roy Robertson-Harris, but they wound up paying him more money. Ledbetter didn't make the team. Ledbetter didn't look good in camp. Roy Robertson-Harris also sticks out to me that he had, like, at least in the early part of the year, had a bunch of just defensive roughing the quarterback penalties early on in the year. That like really bugged me.
That's right. The
first one was cool because it's like, oh, you're hitting the quarterback. And then I felt like the second and the third one was like, all right, dude, you can stop this now. That's great. All right, so I gave him a C.
A C as well.
Okay. Dane Belton. This is maybe a little rude, but speaking of Jags, like I view Dane Belton as just another guy too. We have entered into the top 10, by the way. We need to move.
All right. Well, these should get easier.
Shaun, where did Dane Belton rank in tackles among the 2025 Giants?
Third.
Second.
Okay, that's close.
He had 120 combined tackles. And it's crazy that he had 120 combined tackles, and he was 10th on the team in total snaps among the defense, which is it's kind of nuts. He had 2 sacks as well on the year, 5 passes defensed, 3 forced fumbles. The interception streak continues. He had 1. He had 3 tackles for loss, 2 quarterback hits as well. 60 of those tackles were solo. 60 solo, 60 assisted. How do you like that? I think his best moment of the season was the hit that he had on versus Denver, the 4th and goal screen right near the goal line. And oh man, that Giants are up 13-0. And we're in the middle of the second quarter, and they get a goal line stop, and Dane Belton has this big fucking hit.
They win that game.
Fire me up.
They win that game. It's a play you remember all year. No doubt. Yeah.
That no and doubt. Victor D. Mukasey. Do you remember that? That pass deflection that he had as well? 2 plays that we would have written in stone in our brains. Yet everybody forgets. Had 3 interceptions during OTAs this year. I bet you forgot that. Shaun, his contract is up, and he's free agent after this year. I think he's a fine safety number 3 or 4. We'll have an impending free agent episode where we'll talk about everybody kind of in depth. I think he's okay in coverage. He allowed 3 touchdowns this year and a passer rating of 100 plus. Every year his passer rating allowed has gone up. I think this is a player that needs to fully make this transition to inside, and they kind of did that this year. 400 snaps inside the box, whether he's lining up on the defensive line, in the box, or as a slot corner. He had 278 at free safety. I think the problem is that the Giants already have another safety who we feel like needs to make more of a transition inside the box, that being Tyler Nubin.
Correct.
So I think Dane Belton's kind of a jag. I've always felt that, even going back to his days at Iowa.
Yeah, but I think there's a place where I think he's a very valuable third safety in the NFL. And when you get that kind of production, again, a day 3 guy in year 4 of his contract, I'm giving him a B-, dude. I'm elevating him out of the C.
Really?
Because he flashed. look, you ask a guy like that to come on the field and replace, even when Holland got hurt, it's not as if he elevated the defense where they sucked. And you're like, yeah, Dane Belton's on the field. It's great. But he produces, he tackles, he makes hits. He's there when you need the occasional turnover. And I do think there's extreme value in it. And again, maybe based on a curve because of where he's come from and everything that goes into it. And maybe not a real fit with the Giants moving forward, but he gets a B- for me.
I mean, come to think of it, during the Shane era, he kind of is, like, he is the best secondary player overall in interceptions, passes defensed, forced fumbles.
Think of the value they've gotten out of Dane Belton over 4 years.
Yeah. You would probably feel it. I mean, you would feel it more if they were winning more football games. I think that's my.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's the overall.
But I also don't view him as somebody that can only be a third safety on a bad football team too. You know what I mean? Where some might look at it and go, well, you overvalue him because the team stunk. I think he has value on a good football team.
Yeah, I gave him a C+.
Okay, we're close enough anyway. By the way, C+,
Yeah.
B-.
I gave him a C+. I just don't think that he's this crazy advantage in coverage. I think he is a liability as a deep safety, but if you put him in the box, man coverage against corners, he was a really, really good tackler this year. I do want to give him credit on this. 120 total tackles this year and having a 4% missed tackle rate, that is really, really good. When most secondary players like to live around 8, 9, 10, 10+%. A lot of secondary players do like to live around that. And 4% missed tackle rate is really, really good and really, really reliable, especially when you're talking about on such a bad run defense. I think that's what his tackle number really shows, is that Dane Belton, a player that was 10th in the defense in snaps, was able to be second on the team in tackles behind the Mike linebacker that played over 1,000 snaps. So number 3, number 4 safety, I probably would lean towards more number 4 safety. I think totally fine. Like Jason Pennock signed a 1-year, $2.2 million deal with the 49ers this year. If Dane Belton is looking for around that, welcome back to the New York Giants. So
Absolutely.
Dru Phillips, one of the more complex players on this team because of how bipolar he is.
Yeah.
He was the 10th most targeted corner on a per snap basis in the league and allowed catches at the 5th highest rate. He had 12 passes defensed, 2 interceptions this year compared to his 1 in 2024. And Shaun, I think one of the main takeaways that I had from his rookie year is I want to see him make more plays on the football. I was like, oh, really good year for Dru Phillips in coverage. Want to see him make more plays on the football when he's targeted.
Yeah.
And oh boy, did he have an opportunity to make plays on the football when he was targeted, because he was targeted a crap ton.
Yeah. Yeah. And he had that one interception versus Dallas where I thought that was going to be the beginning of a run for him. And that never happened. Look, he has to get graded down based on that. That was the player I was probably most excited for in this defense this year. Bought his jersey before the year. He had inexplicable benchings at times that I even kind of disagree with the coaching staff, but I can't.
Yeah, I hated that, by the way.
They were like Deonte Banks is out there running around like a chicken with his head cut off. We keep benching Dru Phillips.
That drove me nuts.
The one thing I'll say about Dru Phillips that I can definitively say, and we can have the argument about others, he busts his ass and he tries. I don't think there was like one moment, I forgot what day, where you were like, why'd he do that? But for the most part, Dru Phillips is an all-time hustle guy, and he makes the most of his size. And look, he's getting picked apart by either big slots, big tight ends, that kind of deal, where it's just a size matchup situation. But I want to see more out of him. But I still think the arrow is pointed up for Dru Phillips in a Giant uniform. I do, and I'm excited for him and his coaching staff. And
I agree with that. I think he is a victim of first half narrative syndrome, where he had 10 penalties, right? 10 penalties is a lot. That was tied for the 6th most in the NFL this year. But 6 of them came in back-to-back weeks. 3 of them versus Dallas and 3 of them versus Kansas City. He was relatively quiet penalty-wise for the remainder of the year, where he never had a game with more than one penalty. Okay? Second half of the year, the only 2 games that he allowed over 50 receiving yards was against the Minnesota Vikings, which you would think that that's coming from Justin Jefferson.
Correct.
And then the Lions, which you think that's coming from Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't mind if those are 2 receivers or even teams, right? And I understand the Vikings didn't have a quarterback throwing, at that point you don't love, but those receivers are still really, really good. So after having some big explosive games of getting kind of picked on and your ass kicked a little bit and highly, highly penalized games in the early part of the year, the second half of the year, he kind of clamped down. He led the team in passes defense even more than Cor'Dale Flott. He is a playmaker. He makes big pass deflections. He makes big tackles on the run game when teams are trying to go to the outside. Like, he is a playmaker, one of the more reliable playmakers that this defense does have, even if every rose has its thorn and he gets picked on and he'll allow some plays at times and he'll get flagged. But like I said, I do think a lot of the big games that he allowed, like big receiving games that he allowed as a corner, very much happened in the first half of the year. And then the penalties, the majority of them came in 2 games.
Correct.
So I gave Dru Phillips a B.
Okay. I was going to go B-.
Okay.
B-. Feel like I'm a little harder grader than you so far.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be pretty tough. Pretty tough. But I'm excited for Dru Phillips. I interested to see how he fits in a Denard Wilson scheme. What is he going to ask his slot corners to do? But hey, if you're going to ask your slot corner to play the run, I do think Dru Phillips can do that after having such a bad track record. And I hated this draft pick.
I'd like to see him blitz a little more too, dude, with his tackling ability.
Yeah, which I think Denard Wilson is going to allow him to do 100%. Like, it'll be very delayed where, especially if you're looking at the end zone cam of all 22, which I've done for Denard Wilson a little bit, be like, oh, well, they're only bringing 4. And then you'll see. Like, oh, nope, quarterback drops back. He hits his second step, third step, and there's the slot corner that's running in kind of untouched because it's so delayed that nobody really knows it's coming. So I think he's going to do that as well. Did have a sack and only 1 quarterback hit in 2024. 0 sacks and 0 QB hits in 2025. So really did not do that at all. 8 tackles for loss. 7 tackles for loss and 15 tackles for loss over his first 2 seasons for Dru Phillips. That's pretty damn good for a corner. Let him be more aggressive.
He also cursed on Fox, and they caught it.
Oh, they did?
When he intercepted the ball versus Dallas.
Nice. Repeat what he said. No, don't.
I cannot do that. You can look that up. I certainly cannot.
That's what I figured. That's what I figured. Dexter Lawrence is next. And oh boy, what a conversation this could be. We've talked a lot about Dex on this show. I did look up just additional data. He is the most doubled man in football. That did continue throughout his 2025 season, but the production was just very, very bad. He had half a sack. It was the lowest total in his career. 2.5 sacks in 2019, his rookie year. Then he also had 2.5 sacks in 2021 as well. He had 4 tackles for loss. That was the lowest since his rookie year, where he had 3. He had 8 QB hits. That was the lowest of his career. The lowest of his career was 9 QB hits in 2019 during his rookie year. Shaun, 31 combined tackles. That was the lowest of his career. Dexter Lawrence statistically had one of the worst years of his career. I'm not thrilled with him as a player.
I'm not.
But I am still saying he is still one of the league's best players without a doubt.
He's certainly the player that I think should have the most attention in August next year. Are you in shape? Are you healthy? Because if there's anything showing similarities to last year, then you're in a full throttle. We're on the back end of the career here. And that would alarm me to hell. But we're not worried about that right now. We're worried about what he did in 2025, right? Justin, I find it very hard to defend. Whatever the reason is, whether he didn't come back from injury fully, whether he was mopey because he was out of guaranteed money in his contract, like, he was not Dexter Lawrence, and he was not the Dexter Lawrence that warranted the cap hit that he had. And frankly, the only thing that's going to keep me from giving him an F here is that I just simply have to say, was he as invaluable as Tay Banks was as a corner? And the answer would be no. There was still value there for Dexter Lawrence, considering the doubles he took on. He's getting a big fat D+ for me from that standpoint. But look, there's just no way to sugarcoat it. Like, I think we all got to a certain point this year. It took everybody. It almost felt like COVID, where we got to a certain week where everybody was just kind of done with it, where you were done making excuses for Dexter Lawrence, and everybody got there at one certain point. And it's just an incredibly frustrating year, the most frustrating year of his career. D+ for me. And I am worried. I am worried that we just don't snap our fingers and that he's going to be Dexter Lawrence again next year.
I gave him a C because I just don't. I don't know I don't know why. I'm not in that building. And like, if you had asked me, you had to put a gun to my head. I think it's an effort thing. Would you agree with that?
I think it's certainly not disputable that it can be. And I think that there was enough breadcrumbs there in terms of being unhappy with money from enough people kind of whispering to tell you that would add up to an effort thing. But I think it was an effort thing beginning in August. I don't think he was all about the rehab from the injury. And maybe that was just getting by on your laurels. You just thought, you know what, I'm big, I'm physical, I'm Dexter Lawrence, I'm going to be fine. And I don't think he realized the work that was going to go in. And then it led to, well, now I'm not getting paid enough. This thing's a circus. And that is an effort thing. There's not really an excuse for that.
2024 leading into the season, and he sits out practices, and he always looks bigger. Like, I don't know if I want to rest on that talking point of he looked out of shape. He's 340 pounds. Of course he's going to look big.
But it was the stamina. The stamina thing.
2024 during training camp, and he's sitting out, he's sitting out like team drills 1 out of every 3 days, or he's in some things, and he's out of other things. We're not questioning then because he's a player that could get you double-digit sacks, and he's a player that kicks ass, and he's one of the best players in the league. You're not questioning then. So why would I question that in 2025, especially when he's rehabbing and coming off that injury?
Yeah.
Like, what was it? And all that could be true, man. I don't know.
Dude, we were still worried about snap counts versus the Lions. He couldn't get out there on that play that Gibbs took off in overtime. Remember that big controversy?
Yeah, and that's
by that point of the year, you got to be healthy and rolling.
Yeah, but that also comes down to the Giants' depth and the fact that if Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence ever left the field, catastrophic things would happen. So that's a Giants problem too. That's not just a Dexter Lawrence problem. Okay. So I need. But then
don't look to be the highest paid defensive tackle if that's a Giants problem, because then you're counted to be out there 95%.
I need to know why, and this is I've mentioned this before. John Harbaugh needs to sit. It's at this point, it's Harbaugh. It's not even just Shane. Harbaugh needs to sit down with Dexter Lawrence, man to man, look him in the eye, and be like, "Are you here? Because if you're not here, I don't want you here." Right. He can go somewhere else and he can dominate. And you know what? It'll be a dumb talking point of, "Oh my God, the Giants let another player walk and look at the success he's having elsewhere." Because if I would rather have that, Shaun, and get it would be a package. It would be a good package too, but. Forget the draft package and the compensation that you would get for one set. Forget it. That's not why. If Dexter Lawrence is going to be the type of player that he was in 2025, if that's the effort that he's going to show, and he's just going to collect a paycheck, right? I do not want him here. Okay. I don't want that here.
I agree with you. You got to be about football now. This is the time to turn over new leaves.
Somehow, he was 5th in win rate in true pass sets among interior defensive linemen this year, according to PFF. He was 23rd when you include edge rushers and interior defensive linemen. He's still really freaking good. He is still an elite football player. I do not doubt that. I really think it's an effort thing. I was watching him in the latter part of the year. There are plays where it looks like he goes after it. There are plays where it looks like he takes plays off. This is my theory. It's an effort thing. And if he's here, I want him here mentally. If he's not here mentally, I want him gone.
I agree wholeheartedly. Again, very, very interesting offseason coming up in the next month. We'll probably get more to know in another month here.
So I gave him a C.
D+.
All right.
D+. Not enough effort.
Paulson Adebo.
Man, this is a tough list.
I know. So Paulson Adebo this year had 1 interception, had 8 passes defensed in 12 games, 73 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, only 3 penalties, which it felt like it would be more. That kind of surprised me when I looked at PFF.
Well, remember, he missed so many games too.
He did miss a lot of games.
The story of Paulson Adebo is this. Whether you believed in him statistically or not, the defense was really just susceptible to the run and was holding its own in the pass defense up until the 4th quarter of Denver, where Justin Pennick issued a tweet about Paulson Adebo has that hammy, buddy. I'll never forget that Pennick tweet in that game where he's like riding the bike trying to stretch out, and we did not see him again for about 4 or 5 weeks, and the entire season, beginning with the moment Paulson Adebo got hurt in Denver, began to unravel. It all started with Adebo's injury, which should tell you the value. And then he started to play better football at the very end, and it was kind of too little too late. I have held the injuries against people, but he also didn't have these crazy interceptions like we thought he was going to be this ball hawking corner. He's getting a flatline C for me because we all saw his value when the team had him and when they didn't have him, but I didn't see the interceptions.
But, Shaun, guess who led the league in dropped interceptions?
Was it Adebo?
Paulson Adebo dropped 3 interceptions. There was one other player that also dropped 3 interceptions, and that was
right?
Tied for number 1 in the league, Paulson Adebo. So, if he had 4 interceptions, that would have matched his career high with the Saints back in 2023.
That's a fun stat because I don't remember ever throwing my remote this year going, man, Adebo, you got to catch that. Like, that doesn't register in my brain at all.
I remember a few. I don't know the game, but I do remember a few where he kind of had him in his hands and
wow,
and just
I'm
just
sure.
didn't come away with it.
I guess I'm sure I remember them in real time. That didn't sit with me when thinking about him for the year.
But the thing with Adebo is that you signed him to be this press man physical corner, and then you didn't really allow him to be a press man physical corner because Shane Bowen would just, especially the slot, he wouldn't really give like Paulson. Dru Phillips, he would allow to press, but the outside boundary corners, they would just give so much cushion at the line. So I feel like that kind of nerfed him in terms of what he could do and the type of player that he is. He was both top 10 most targeted and like catches allowed, both top 10 in that overall rate this year. So he was targeted a lot, allowed a lot of catches. He was 35th in passer rating allowed, which isn't catastrophically bad, not that bad. Especially when you only consider they only had 1 interception. He was top 30 in defensive backs with lowest target separation that have a minimum of 300 snaps, which I love. I love looking at that stat. And he's entering his age 27 next season, coming off of a year where he broke his leg last year.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about Paulson Adebo. Like Denard Wilson, his main MO is we're going to press and we're going to be physical at the line. What is Paulson Adebo? Press and physical at the line.
You're right.
He is going to allow catches. He is going to get targeted. He is going to get flagged. But I think you also are he has the potential to be a guy that can make the game-saving pass breakup, the pass breakup on a 3rd and 8, where you desperately need a stop and you force a punt. Paulson Adebo can do that. Paulson Adebo can get you an interception. I still believe in him. I'm going to give him a C+, because he did get picked on. It felt like there were times where he was really getting penalized, especially kind of early on in the year. I'm giving him a C+, and I'm very, very excited for him in Denard Wilson's system.
I'm with you. All right, a couple C's, different C range for Adebo.
Cor'Dale Flott. A.
I'm glad you said it. First A on the board for me. You think about where he came from, and you think about, let me just say the narrative around it before you kind of rip off the stats. What we lost in Deonte Banks and claiming a bust and the first-round pick, and he lost his job, I think kind of overshadowed the fact that what Cor'Dale Flott was able to accomplish this year is what you attempt when you take a guy in the 3rd round, as young as Flott was when you took him. You hope that player materializes and becomes a bona fide starter. Cor'Dale Flott eased the pain of Deonte Banks being a bust. And there's just no other way to overshadow it. Has the big play versus the Eagles and what was the biggest moment of the year.
Yeah.
I think that kind of raises up the level. It's an A for me, no doubt about it. An A, and yet I kind of feel like maybe I'm not going to be disappointed if he's not back next year too, which is weird, but he's an A.
I would like him to be back.
I would too. But
because it was kind of so good. It was so good that why wouldn't you want to try it again? I'm not like I'm not talking about a year that's, it could be a flash in the pan year, but I'm not talking about a year that was just good for Giants standards. This was a legitimately good kick-ass year by a cornerback, and especially in the defense, Shaun, where we're going to talk about Nubin, we're going to talk about Holland, and I just mentioned even with Paulson Adebo about Shane Bowen sucks and Shane Bowen bad, and that's why a lot of these secondary players were bad. That wasn't Cor'Dale Flott. Cor'Dale Flott wasn't bad in the face of bad Shane Bowen. He was really, really good. 1 interception on the year, 11 passes defense. That was second on the team. 1 forced fumble. Had 38 combined tackles, 3 tackles for loss as well. The stat that just gets me hard. I'll throw you out there.
Oh, you got that?
That's what you saying.
Let's go.
Cor'Dale Flott in 2025 was second lowest out of all cornerbacks with 300 snaps. Had the second lowest average target separation All corners in the league, he was second lowest, which is
Crazy.
nuts. At one point towards the latter part of the year, he was like third or fourth. I looked today, second in the league. 18th lowest in coverage EPA as well among cornerbacks with 300 snaps as well. Just a really, really, really good year that I do not want to simply just say, okay, goodbye to. Like I'm closer to probably giving this an A+.
Yeah.
And especially an A-. You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm giving it for what we were expecting him to be before the year, like you said, as this backup, like, oh yeah, Cor'Dale Flott could be a good backup. The fact that we're talking about being one of the league's best corners in 2025, A+. I'm changing my grade.
I'm going to stick with an A. I'm holding very high regard here. But yes, I'm with you.
Tyler Nubin.
Oh.
Oh, good news. He had 2 passes defense, not just one. So he has touched the football,
I think that was
4 times in his career.
Great.
Because he also had a forced fumble. Or no, excuse me, he had a fumble recovery. Not even a forced fumble. He had a fumble recovery. No interceptions in his career yet. No interceptions in 2025. 78 combined tackles, 7 tackles for loss. That's up from 4. It's up from 4 in 2024. I don't want to give up hope yet on Tyler Nubin. This is the ultimate, like, I love this draft pick so much. I thought he was so smart. He had so much ball production in Minnesota that doesn't just go away, right? Question mark. So this is the ultimate bad Shane Bowen. Hopefully things get better under Jernard Wilson player for me.
I know Dexter Lawrence had the year he had, and we just kind of crapped on him, but Tyler Nubin's probably the player in the 2025 defense I'm most disappointed with. When you consider like the year 2 leap that just didn't happen and instead was a derailment backwards. I can't hear the word in any context angle without thinking of Tyler Nubin and how many bad ones he took.
What
and
the
then,
hell? Why did that? What the hell happened from 2024?
Right.
That was probably the most, other than not being able to touch a football and not force a turnover. That was probably the most disappointing thing is that 2024, we're talking about Tyler Nubin being a really, really good run-stopping physical safety. And then 2025, even that got ruined.
That was what was so weird about this year. And it's like one of those things. You tell me shadow word angle, I go Tyler Nubin. That's kind of how I feel about it. I'm not giving up. Certainly going into year 3, but I'm certainly less excited than I am about a Dru Phillips or a Darius Alexander. Like I have more reason to think it's not going to get better for Nubin than I do those other guys. And I could easily be wrong, and I hope I am to an extent, but Nubin's getting D- treatment for me, man. I'm not going to be easy on him here. And that might be a lot of Shane Bowen's fault and everything that went into it, but I don't know. Maybe this is just an expectation thing, but none of it was good. The coverage wasn't good. There was no pass deflections. The run defense wasn't good. Anytime somebody got to the 3rd level, it was just like Nubin had no idea what was going on. He was as bad a culprit for the run defense as anybody. And again, you're a 2nd-round pick in year 2, man. This is supposed to be the light bulb going on, and it just did.
Yeah, I'm giving him a D. The safety position is very, very hard to evaluate, in my opinion, especially if you're not solely watching for those safeties. So even like Jevon Holland, who's next on this list, it's a hard evaluation, and especially it's hard with the defense that they have been running the last 2 years. Where, Shaun, I cannot tell you, I do not think one time there was ever a moment where a safety had half field responsibilities or even full field responsibilities where they were playing single high, but Shane Bowen didn't really fully love to do that. Or even like, they would run cover 3 and 3 would wound up going back anyway. I don't remember a safety ever flowing sideline to sideline, making a play on a football or making a play on like a receiver.
Yeah,
that never happened. And I think that's pretty crazy through 34 games to not have a clear memory of a safety having a half field responsibility, breaking on a football on a go route on the sideline. I think that's pretty crazy.
You're right. It is crazy. And that should have been a strength for this Giant defense this year. It should have been on paper.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you talk about the safeties, like the safeties in the secondary that they had,
Think about the investments. A year 2 2nd-round pick and a prized free agent. That should not have been the solution.
And a 2nd-round pick that, again, like just the pedigree of him making plays at Minnesota, making plays on the football, being smart, taking so much pride in figuring out what are quarterbacks going to do? Where are their eyes going to be? Where should I be? How can I bait quarterbacks? Like, I was excited about Tyler Nubin's brain just as much like who he is as a player and his production. Like, I'm like, this dude's going to go in and put in the work.
Yeah. We thought he'd be a captain by year 3.
I'm not giving up on that, but for right now, dude, just crazy. I mentioned 5 times he's touched the football in his career.
Put it this way.
He had two pass defense, 3 last year, and then 2 fumble recoveries in his career. He's touched the football 5 times in his career through 2 years.
I will not hear one argument between here and the draft day if anybody brings up Tyler Nubin's name and say why you don't draft Caleb Downs with the 5th pick. That's
No. I don't think anybody's doing that either.
You'd be surprised.
I hope people are.
I've talked to Looney Tunes about this.
Okay. No.
Well, you invested a 2nd-round pick. Who cares what you did 2 years ago? Get the best player.
Nope. All right, Jevon Holland, again, a tough eval. So I gave Nubin a D. You gave him a D-.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Jevon Holland, again, like a tough eval. He played in 14 games this year. He had 63 combined tackles. He had 1 interception, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
5 passes defensed, and no QB hits, no tackles for loss. 38 of those tackles were solo.
He screams to me the one player on this defense, when you consider like the top 15 guy, I guess, that we're doing, that it really felt like Shane Bowen had no idea what the hell to do with. And I kind of am going to grade Holland up for that. I don't think I ever got really frustrated with Holland's play this year, whereas like Nubin had glaring, horrible mistakes. It just kind of felt like Holland was invisible at times, but not always in a bad way. And just Shane Bowen didn't get the most out of him. And I don't know how much of that was a fault to Holland. I'm excited about his year 2. I think that he will be rejuvenated on a team that Harbaugh kind of runs here. And I think he'll be a valuable asset to this defense. But based on 2025, based on the fact that he signed a big-time contract, he's going to fall in the C+ range for me, just not enough big-time plays.
Yeah, I'm with you. I give him a C. Similar reasons as you, but also even going back to Miami, like we were expecting, and this 2026 will be the big test for Jevon Holland, and ultimately like how I view him as a player and how I kind of grade him and view him as a Giants free agency signing. But we were kind of hoping that he would get back to his first 2 years at Miami and not necessarily the player that he was for the 2 years prior to that. Correct. Like 2023, 2024, that's not really why you signed Jevon Holland.
No.
You really signed him for what he did in his first 2 years, where he had a total of 4 interceptions, 17 passes defensed, and then 2023 to 2024, he had 1 interception combined and then 8 passes defense combined. So,
doesn't it get the sense, and Holland, I get this vibe, Holland is he's going to thrive on a winning team, and he just doesn't do enough to elevate a losing team. And you kind of look at when he was good in Miami, they were good. When he was bad in Miami, they were bad. The Giants are really bad here.
Defensive coordinator too in Miami too, and so
we all know those kinds of guys. We grew up with those kinds of guys. If you played sports, the guy, the guys that are really shine when the team is winning because of other reasons. And I think Holland's that kind of player.
Yeah, I would agree. Again, just a tough eval. I still want to be excited. I am a little bit higher on Adebo than I am Holland, to be honest. Like, okay, 2 big free agency signings. I'm more excited about Paulson Adebo than I am Jevon Holland at this point.
I probably am too.
Yeah. Abdul Carter. Why don't you lead me off with this?
I'm very interested in your grade on this.
You
want me to lead you off?
Yeah.
Okay. Abdul Carter, we thought was going to burst on the scene and be the absolute slam dunk defensive rookie of the year. And he certainly probably had a better year than his biggest naysayers will say he did. And there's a ton of advanced stats that you're going to point to, including pressure rate and all this other stuff, as to why he did that. But the moral of the story is this guy got benched twice because he couldn't get his ass in gear for whatever reasons. And sacks do matter. Like, look, they lose the Bear game because they've had all the pressures in the world, but they cannot sack Caleb Williams. I am so pumped up about the last month we've seen with Abdul Carter, and the fact that he spoke up as a leader and the production also started to match and he started to make the big-time hits, that he's leaving me with a better taste in my mouth than I had around midway through the year, where I started to wonder, oh, my God, like, is this actually bust potential here, even though the rates there, when you're thinking about the bench moment and the moment that New England benching happened, everything changed. He's getting a B for me. He could have even been higher than that based on all the advanced stats, but you got to grade him down for the 2 benchings and the expectations that he was just going to, kind of take this thing off running. So a B for me with Abdul Carter. But a very exciting B where I think potential maybe even be the best pass rusher in football this year, like next year. That's how high I am on.
2025, he had 4 sacks, 43 combined tackles, 25 of them solo, 7 tackles for loss, 23 quarterback hits. A lot of quarterback hits.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you
forces an intentional grounding right off the bat in week 1, which was fun.
His last 4 games, not counting the Dallas game. So remove the Dallas game from this. So I'm talking about the Lions game, the Patriots game, the Commanders game, the Viking game, and the Raider game. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
From week 13, and then 15, 16, 17, Abdul Carter led the NFL in total pressures, sacks, hits, and hurries over those 5 weeks. Abdul Carter's 5 games total, those games. 3.5 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, 13 quarterback hits, and 20 tackles. His 17-game pace over those final 5 games, not counting the Dallas game, would have been 12 sacks, 20 tackles for loss, and 44 quarterback hits.
Is that good?
Let's just do overall now. Overall in the year, Abdul Carter was 11th in the NFL in total sacks, hits, hurries. 11th in the NFL, even without the sacks. 11th in the NFL in total pressure. He was number 1 in the NFL, finished the year number 1. He was always kind of like around 2 and 3. He did finish number 1 in the NFL in quick pressures, which is pressures under 3 seconds. He had 48 pressures under 3 seconds. Nick Bonito was second with 43. Will Anderson Jr. was third with 35. He had 13 more quick pressures than Will Anderson Jr.
Wow.
Who was like a top 3, top 5 pass rusher in a National Football League.
Defense.
So I think Abdul Carter removing, I'll get to the grade. I think Abdul Carter is going to explode. Absolutely explode in 2026. And his finish to his rookie year tells me that it lets me know that this is it's a successful year and an imperfect year for the Giants and an imperfect year for him. It's a successful rookie season for me. What are you going to give it as a grade? Did you already say that?
I did. A B. It's a B.
A B.
I have to grade him down for the benchings.
You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna give it. Yeah, you can't give it a B plus. You can't give it a B plus. I think I may be closer to B minus.
Okay. The guy got benched twice as a rookie, and I know he made up for it at the end of the year.
I'm gonna give it a B too, because it's there.
Right.
It's there.
No,
and even like
I'll be pissed if this is a B next year. Put it this way.
And also we will be grading it differently because you always are going to grade rookies higher than Darius Alexander does what he does next year. I don't think we're giving him the same grade.
You're right. You're right.
But yeah, I think what Carter did over the last month, like the fact that he was able to start to put it together from a production and value standpoint and not just the pressures, but he has the pressures and stuff to back it up, which that tells me the fact that he got consistent pressure, the fact that he was top 15, top 10 in all these different metrics, that's what tells me that the sacks are going to come. And a lot of the times for these rookies, sometimes they don't come right away. Sometimes they don't. But they do in year 2, they do in year 3, and I think he's going to absolutely explode.
I'm a child.
Because I'm saying come so many times?
And then he's going to explode. Yes, I'm a child.
Oh, yeah. Clip it. All right. I love Abdul Carter. I'm so
excited. What did Wes Steinberg say Abdul Carter was doing?
Oh, yeah. That he was... Was he whacking off or watching porn?
I think he was just watching porn, and you were allowed to jump.
He was just taking it in like a cinema, like a movie.
Oh, what a classic, Wes Steinberg! Classic Wes, classic.
All right, Brian Burns, 16.5 sacks.
A plus.
Oh, A plus. All right, so yeah, wow, 2 players get A pluses. Oh, he gets an A plus too. Brian Burns, 16.5 sacks. He had 31 quarterback hits, 22 tackles for loss. He also had 7 passes defensed and 3 forced fumbles as well. Yes, A plus. The best season a pass rusher has had since 2011 JPP, where I believe he also had 16.5 sacks as well. One of the best seasons overall that a Giants pass rusher, edge rusher, defensive end really has ever had. What's crazy about Burns is, it was felt literally everywhere. It was felt even in coverage, for crying out loud. Like him in the open field making tackles on receivers that are getting these swing passes and bubble screens. They were lining him up in the A gap, lining him up as like this off-ball linebacker. And I wasn't really fully expecting that preseason. I was expecting Abdul Carter to be that Swiss Army knife chess piece. I even knew that Kayvon could rush the passer a little bit from the inside. I thought Brian Burns was going to be the type of player that you line him up as an edge rusher, and then that's it. And then you go. That was not the case. He was put everywhere, and he absolutely dominated.
He's a better player than I think we even thought we were getting. Came into his own. Can't wait to see what's next. And here's the real reason he's an A+. In a year that this team lost Malik Neighbors early, and then the Cam Scadaboo injury happened, and all the frustrations that happened all over this defense. Like, honestly, this sounds just really layman's terms. What just an enjoyable watch Brian Burns was all year. Even in the most frustrating of horrible seasons, every time Brian Burns lined up, even though it was a couple of games when he started to go through that drought towards like the second third of the season, and then he kind of picked it up again, just an enjoyable down in and down and out watch. I love watching Brian Burns play football, and he was awesome in every metric.
I want to look up
2 sacks in week 1, and Washington got that rolling. I think they were on the same drive too.
I was very critical of him. Like, oh, this isn't a player this isn't like a mid $30 million player that's top 10 in his position. Right now he's 10th out of 245 edge rushers in contract ranking. And I'm like, this isn't a guy that's going to give you that.
No, he is.
I was wrong.
Second team All-Pro.
Ate my words, and his cap hit for next year is $36.5 million. And he's going to be entering his age 28 season. And the Giants have him at that number, $36.5 million, for the next 2 years after that.
Yeah. Wouldn't shock me if there's a slight restructure coming to Burns, too.
Also would not shock me as well. And good for him. He earned a lot of money in incentives, too, which I'm really happy for him. I'm perfectly fine paying pay players more if they're kicking ass and if they're good. The only thing that I do worry about a little bit, like, is he going to have that same production every single year? No, I do not think that Brian Burns, who before this year had 12.5 sacks in 2022, that was the only year that he had over 10 sacks in his career. He had 22 quarterback hits in 2022. That was the most that he had in his career. So everything was a major outlier.
But hear me out.
Yeah,
you're not doubling both him and Abdul Carter, as Abdul Carter only gets better.
Right.
So pick your poison.
I will say, part of the reason why Carter is a lot better in like some stats like win rate and total pressures and things like that, Burns was the beneficiary of a good amount of untouched stuff. Untouched pressures, untouched hits, untouched sacks. He was the main beneficiary of that. And like, hey, somebody like Carter, if he has 2 more sacks that are untouched and he ends the year with 6 sacks, even like how different could the talking point be about him? But instead, Brian Burns was able to get that. And then he's ending the year with 16.5, tying JPP instead of 13.5, let's just say.
Put it this way, Justin, no matter which way you cookie the crumble or crumble the cookie here, you want to say, like, will Brian Burns ever replicate this? My assumption is the total number of sacks the Giants got from Burns and Carter is actually going to go up next year. Now, whether that means slightly less by Burns and a ton by Carter, teams are just going to pick what they want to do. So even if his go down slightly, I just think overall the pass rush is going to thrive and only get better with them too.
Yes, 100%. And then last and maybe least, Bobby Okereke. I don't even have his stats pulled up. That's how much I am so done and out on Bobby Okereke. Here's the story that I love to tell. Art Stapleton came on this show during the spring, and he was like, the Giants may be done with Bobby Okereke. And then the summer went on, and I was that one Art interview stuck with me for a very, very long time. Because the spring, mind you, is right after the OTAs is right after the draft. Mm-hmm. Before the draft comes free agency. Before free agency comes, hey, we're going to make decisions on the roster and what we're going to do with players, right? Before that time is the 2024 season. The 2024 season for Bobby Okereke was filled with effort questions, was filled with, is this guy actually here? Is he trying? The team is starting to lose games, and is he fully dedicated and here and motivated? So I'm presuming that they go through the offseason. Bobby Okereke is here. He is not cut. He is not anything. And I'm like, okay, so we should be good. Maybe we can get back to what we were doing in 2023, Bobby Okereke. And nope, they had to. For Art Stapleton to come on this show, they had to have some sort of internal conflict, internal debate. There were people in that building that liked him. There were people in that building that wanted him out. So what do the Giants do to shore up their worst run defense in the National Football League in 2024? They do nothing. They especially do nothing at Mike linebacker. They especially do nothing at interior linebacker. And they keep Bobby Okereke. And then they continue to be awful, awful, awful.
Yes, and this is why he's going to be gone. You cannot pay a linebacker that money and be that bad against the run, bottom line. Grade-wise for a Bobby Okereke, he, in a weird way, off of all that, it felt like times he was better, but he just has no sideline-to-sideline speed.
I got so pissed when he starts to create turnovers against the Raiders.
Exactly.
Like, seriously, brother? Seriously?
Now you wake up. Look, I think Bobby Okereke is one of those guys. He's going to kind of get a C- because he's never going to be bad enough to be a D. But you're also not an A-B linebacker, period, on the team.
Yeah.
C- for me, but for all the frustrations you listed out.
C- is exactly where I had him. 143 tackles, 1 sack, 2 interceptions, 6 passes defense. Like I felt like that really good coverage corner that we saw in 2023, and even at times going back to Indy, it just didn't really manifest itself over the last 2 years. 1 quarterback hit, 2 tackles for loss is just, come on, man. Like,
yeah,
really, 2 tackles for loss through 17 games. I appreciate, it's another year where he played 1,000 snaps, showed up, a likable guy, guys like him, but I mean, you're the Mike linebacker of a historically bad run defense that was even like that's also historically bad, specifically going to the outside, and you were the leader of it.
Sucks. See you later, Bobby O.
Yeah. They got a lot of work to do at some of these spots. Tell you what. All right, that was a really long Talking Giants episode, but I thought it was good.
It felt good. It felt like we were washing out some of the demons of 2025. I think it was a mentally healthy exercise.
And I need to stop holding Shaun hostage late at night, because I did it last week when I was at the Senior Bowl, and then today because I was at the dentist, and then I was cramming last second. So
that's okay. This is why we're here. We work. We're hard hat guys. Remember that?
We are hard hat guys. That's right. We're a hard hat pod.
We don't get paid by the minute, everybody.
Who's the Giants' offense coordinator?
I'll go Kingsbury. Just makes the most sense.
I think that makes the most sense too.
My right to be excited. I think I'm going to be excited if they hire Alex Tanney, like genuinely, because I'm going to go, ooh, I kind of like the upside here.
I think I'm going to be excited if they hire anybody except Brian Callahan or Matt Nagy.
Okay, I forgot about Matt Nagy. That makes sense. I
mean, because especially if it's a first-time play caller and he doesn't have a track record, how can you be like, I hate this? I don't know.
Again, he could be the next Clint Kubiak. You don't know that.
It's not like they're plucking any. These guys that aren't primary play callers. They're all coming from good backgrounds that have had really good years. So
of course,
there you go. Probably next time that you hear from us, Giants are going to hire an offense coordinator, and then we'll either go live for that or we'll have a pod out. So stay tuned for that. Get excited. Let's go Giants. Hope you enjoyed this. You know what? Comment up and down on the YouTube and stuff. Comment the grades that you would give these players too. That'll be a fun exercise. Let's go Giants.
It starts today. Let's go Giants. We woo.